There we go. All right.
So we're back again. Good morning.
Good morning.
We want to talk about how mixed the channeling messages are, together with the consciousness, the purity of the consciousness, and if you are the channeler, that it comes through you. So how is that messy?
Yeah. So, and like I said, it's all kind of a learning process for myself as well, and kind of feeling out and going through and receiving messages. So just to kind of recap the way, so I kind of get messages in 3 different ways. I'll just get random, communications throughout the day. Sometimes, messages will come through, whatever. Sometimes it's images, sometimes it's, words, whatever. Then I get where I go and do like a meditation and, communicate that way. And then I go where I do like the hypnosis, where they're channeling through me, and I record that and get those messages. And through each one, there's a different level of clarity in the communication. And so this is the way I kind of understand. They are, when I'm getting like a download, I guess people call them, or when I'm meditating and, communicating in that way, it's sort of, they're sending me messages or, images, or like I said, or, talking to me telepathically, whatever it is. And then I sort of have to interpret, so there's an image there, and yeah, I sort of get it, but maybe I get 90% of it instead of 100%. So it's all like a learning process of understanding that. And then when I actually go do the hypnosis, they're speaking through me. They can clarify, they can, we ask questions and go back and forth. So it's a little bit more clear and concise, less of me involved, I think. And that was kind of the interesting thing when I channeled this last time is, I think you had just mentioned that, some people say that 20 to 30% of channelings, is that what you said, 20 to 30?
That's what the claim is, yeah.
Yeah, can be
like, it's not 100% just pure message from someone else, yeah.
And I think that probably, is the average amongst all messages. So one message may be 100% pure and one message is 70%, that sort of thing, is probably, and I think that, channelers, depending on where you are in your process or what you've learned, there's a process to protect yourself and to, make sure that the information is as clear and concise as possible, and from who you believe that you're talking to as possible. And that's the first part of the battle. That's making sure you're connecting with the beings that you're intending to. And then, like you said, there's the subconscious that can get involved too. And I've noticed the difference. So as I've progressed through the hypnosis phase of channeling, when I was first doing it, I noticed I felt like I was kind of right here, and like they're talking through me, but I'm kind of observing the conversation, I guess. And as I've, I guess, gotten better, and I don't even know what's going on. Like I'm just completely out of the way. I don't even really observe the conversation or anything like that. When I wake up and come out of it, I don't really remember anything until I listen to the recording. And then some stuff will be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Or, or I'll remember the image that they put in my head to kind of illuminate the message or whatever. So, yeah, all different. But going back to what you were saying with the possible, misinterpretations. And I think that's where it happens, is a lot of people are channeling in different ways. So, when Ariah is speaking through me, I haven't had Jesus speak through me yet. I've gotten messages telepathically while I was in that phase, and I've gotten them while I was in the meditation phase. But I haven't had Jesus speak through me yet. Only Ariah has spoken through me. But I believe that when those type of channelings are happening, that's when it's probably in its purest and safest form, I would say, because you're not having to interpret anything or translate anything or try to remember. That's the other part. When I do my meditation channeling, is sometimes it's hard to remember everything, especially for those of you who've meditated. I know that there's different kind of states of mind that you go through. Sometimes you're consciously aware. Sometimes you kind of go into that blackout phase where you're like, in that sleep state sort of thing where you're not really there. So sometimes I go in and out of that, and that can be convoluted with the messages. So I've tried to really practice, I guess, and really make sure who I'm talking to, make sure I'm
That's what it
asking. And
is.
yeah, and when I get a message now, I try to, or if I go into a meditation, seeking a message, I say, hey, whoever has a message for me, please bring it and identify yourself, so I know who's, and sometimes it's myself, and I hear myself say, hey, this is your higher self, or here, this is,
Right.
Jesus, or
Yes.
this is Ariah, or whatever. So
So I think that's important what you said. It's a practice, because sometimes I myself still forget that it's not the end of something once I got some, I don't know. Oh, okay. Right.
yeah,
No, it's a practice. You're going to lose it. Right.
right,
So it can come back if you are consistent. It's not like it's a feel of loss. It's not like I lost it, but I
right,
just need to, it's like a gym. That's everybody, comparing our brain or your what meditation to exactly muscles being trained in the gym. Yes. So
right.
um
And it takes so long
that's
to get that gain, and then it's so fast to have it all
exactly,
go away, so
yeah.
and it's very similar.
And then also because for some time I just like dropped back to my body. I was probably too, I don't know, buzzing up there. So I was like, I need to enjoy food actually, because I kind of,
Hmm.
I just ate because I had to, right?
Hmm.
Or I did other things because I had to. And I'm like, no, it's actually like, you are still human. Hey, you know?
Right.
So I was like, I forget about all of that. I didn't pay attention. I didn't read. I didn't meditate. And now I came back and I'm like, oh, wow, it's a different story. Yeah, it's
Right.
not like you lost it, but it's not the most pleasant to kind of start all over again.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't think you're starting all over. It's like you kind of spiral where you're like, kind of going up
Exactly.
in a loop, and I kind of feel like
Exactly.
that's been my whole, ascension process, or awakening, or however you want to call it, since the beginning has kind of been the same, where, there's plateaus and peaks, and, it's going and then it stops. And I feel like I was just kind of in a plateau here for the last, few months in a way. And I kind of feel like I'm rejuvenated now that I've kind of gotten some of these messages as of late. And so I think that, yeah, moving forward, things are going to be interesting. I think I'm starting to see, I think the snowball, while small right now, I think it's starting to go. So I think things are going
Right.
to
So
start
can
happening.
you explain what you mean exactly? You had a channeling
Well,
session recently?
yeah, I just did a channeling session on Tuesday, and didn't really get too much information. A lot of it was for me, kind of to steer the ship where it needs to go. Like I said, I was kind of going through my own. I really had to strip myself down and, question what I believe, and what, what is real to me, and
Wonderful.
what was all going on here, and, had to, take a step back and kind of, and I just kept coming back to the experiences that I can't deny. I can't, the things that I've seen, the things that I've felt, the experiences, the Reiki healing, all these different things that there's just certain things that I can't deny. And regardless of anything else makes sense beyond that, it doesn't matter, because I have this foundation, here. And I'm kind of just, I don't know, just got a new outlook.
Sorry,
There
so
was a
you're saying
mission.
that you cannot deny what was the past.
Mhm. Well, like
Is
we
that
were
what you
kind of
meant?
talking about, well, through this whole channeling thing, this, all of this, I've questioned myself and questioned where the information's coming. Is it me, pulling some elaborate ruse through my subconscious that, I have no idea, and I'm just, a pawn in a game? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to, I'm always questioning things. I'm always, I don't want to be duped by
Yep.
anything. And so, through that, and, I don't know if I'd mentioned to you, but, the book that was, they had told me to send it to a particular publisher, and it got turned down. And so I was just like so confused, and so, like, what is going on here? Was this all me just making this up? And, so I just had to really question myself and question everything. And, and then it, led me to where I'm at. And so the message now is, no expectations of outcomes, you're here to do a mission, regardless, win or lose, draw, whatever. The mission's the mission. you're not here for material gain. You're not here to have these expected outcomes. You're here to do what you're here to do. And so,
which is kind of mixed because there are financial outcomes, right? In some other people's lives, there are mystical experiences in some other people's lives. There are, I don't know, nothing on top of my head. And then you're questioning, like, why is it not happening to me?
that's a good question. But I kind of feel like that's where it starts. Why is it not happening to me? Ask that question and then figure out the answer.
Well,
Because
I'm going based on what you said, because you said, I first thought when you went to this most recent channeling session, right? So you said that things are coming to a picture for you, like a bigger picture.
Mhm.
And then so you said in that channeling session, you got information mostly about yourself, like what's your some, I don't know, some like your beingness, basically, right?
Mhm.
Whatever it is, your life or your mission and so on. And so I understood that you meant to say that all of the past, what you experienced, what you learned, what kind of beliefs you had around, those things that you learned, you experienced in the unawakened life, and then after you awoken, right? Which is not really, we
Well, I
can't
was
say
mostly
you weren't,
referring
you
to
were, but
I was mostly referring to these last 5, 6 months since I started channeling. I was kind of just
right. Okay.
reflecting on that time, and was this all real? Was this all my subconscious? And there's just
Gotcha.
things that
Gotcha.
I could not deny. There's too many truths. There's too many things that like I said, I've stripped it all down to what do I believe? What and I can't deny this. I can't deny that. I can't. These things happened, and this is so. That's more what I meant.
You
As
were
far
kind of
as my
making like a conclusion for yourself.
yeah, well, yeah, like basically, I think a foundation. I was breaking myself down to what do I feel,
Mm.
what do I believe, what is real to me, and everything else is kind of secondary. Because if these things happened, anything that contradicts that, oh well, it doesn't matter because I know this stuff happened. I know, I can't deny these things. There's no way to explain them. There's no way to I can't. Maybe in the future I'll be able to, but I don't think so. They're too rock solid of experiences that I've seen and been through, and they continue to happen. And so I can't, there's no way for me to deny my own, experiences. So I just had to
So
kind of go
while
back to that.
so while one phase ended, when you had all these 5, 6 months off action,
Mhm. Mhm.
another started, which is the ending of something is the beginning, the foundation of something else.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I think that's just understanding the mission. And the mission is we're here to help raise the vibration. We're here to heal and do whatever we can. And there's no outcome that we're, whatever happens. We're here to do what we got to do regardless. And, there's no expectation of outcome. There's no expectation of reward. We love people because we're here to love people, not because they may love us back or anything else. We're here because that's what we're here to do. And so, and if this is resonating to anybody watching, then that's your mission as well. Because, it's not just me. I know I'm not the only one on with this purpose here. But my focus has become much more clear and much more understanding of, it's not about coming here to get money or more guitars or whatever else. It's here because that's what mission I accepted to come do. So, although I would like more money and more guitars, but
Mhm. So I understand that it's like an explanation of what life is. It doesn't matter whether you live on planet Earth or you are incarnated somewhere else, or you are being somewhere else in another form, whatever the form is. Because yeah, it's still kind of hard to imagine for a lot of people that there are beings that don't have body, right?
yeah.
Because anyway, so it is only about living, just living,
Well,
right?
the way
And
they
there's
explained it to me is, did you come here for material gain and monetary gain or soul growth? So,
Mhm. But
and
the
speaking,
thing is
in the
that
sense of coming to Earth, what did we come here for? To get some money that we get to not take with us, or did we come here for soul growth? And so,
depends on who you're watching.
well, and that's the other
But
thing that's key is people don't always remember why they came here too. That veil of ignorance that we go through is, like they said, there's good people that turn out, or good souls, quote unquote, that turn out bad, and there's bad souls that turn out good, and indifferent and in between. And so,
yeah,
that veil is, they said, very, it's very indifferent. It doesn't care who you are or what you came here for. You're going to forget, and you got to
right.
remember.
And
So
that's what you just said, that to remember, the remembering is actually not to accumulate anything, because you're not leaving with that. Or some people do believe that once you ended your life like this, you're going to carry over to the next life. So you should be born rich if you died rich, and if you were born poor, you were going to be reborn poor. But I want to go back to what is also important is that a lot of times, even it happened to me, it's like, finally, when is this going to be over, so I can let it go, and I don't know, start a with new breath or something, right? And it's like, forget about that.
well, and here's the key, and what they told me, because I do it too. If we're thinking about once this is over, or once I have this, or once this, we're living in the future. We're thinking about the future. We're not living right now. You live right now. You don't think about when it's over, because when it's over is when it ends. Right now is what's happening. That's all we need to worry about.
Yeah,
And
a
it's
good
hard.
reminder.
I mean, it's not, I'm not sitting there like, yeah, I do this every day and it's super easy for me. Like, no, I mean, I have to be reminded too.
So
But
there are those things that can come to an end, which is, let's say, it's so hard to because it's like levels or grades. Oh, finally you're grade, I don't know, 1, now you get grade 2, so it means you are so smart, now you can go to grade 2. It's not true, right?
mhm,
And so, but when you learn something like with guitar, right, that is over, that skill is with you, right? So you did gain something new, and then you are gonna start, I don't know, next level, right? Let's say, I don't know. But it's like, with the goals, I was questioning that too. What do you think about goals? When people have, oh, I have this goal, I have to meet it by the end of this month, let's say, lose 5 pounds or whatever. I don't know. I don't like goals. I have really weird understanding of it. So what do you think? I don't know.
well, it's funny because I was actually just thinking about this the other day. What is my thoughts on goals? Because coming from the sports world and coaching and everything, like, goals is such an important part of all of that. And I sort of have mixed feelings because I get the idea of goals. The goal, you put it in front of you so that you have something to work towards. It gives you motivation, so to speak. But I think goals are also for people who don't do. If you just do what you're supposed to do every day, then you don't really need goals, because they'll take care of themselves. If you do all of the things that you're supposed to do every day, then the goal will happen regardless if you set it or try to meet it or set a date or any of those things or not. And I think one thing that can happen with goals is it can have the opposite effect when we do everything we're supposed to do every day, and then the deadline comes and we didn't meet it, or we didn't get the outcome we were hoping for, or whatever, and then it demotivates us. So I think just having that mindset of, this is what needs to be done every day, do that as best I can every day, then the goals take care of themselves.
Based on what you were saying, that it's the stream of life, basically, that's what you're here for. Love as much as you can, enjoy yourself as much as you can, work hard as much as you can on whatever. It doesn't mean work hard like normally people have that conventionally in their heads, but and then we'll
Yeah.
see what happens, whatever. It's a continuation, so it doesn't really matter. But yes, there are certainly some deadlines for sure, which, I mean, it's going to affect like a supply chain, right? That is something different. But yes, like,
Yeah.
if I don't, let's say, finish by the end of certain time, then I consider myself as a failure, right? That it's unnecessary. Yeah.
Right. Well, if you want to lose 5 pounds by next Friday and it takes you till next Saturday, are you a failure? I mean, that's kind
But
of what it's
you
really,
do get hooked too much. Yeah.
And I get the idea of, but that's where I think people need to, because okay, you lost 5 pounds, now what? Now you stop working out and then you're going to gain it right back. So
That's
what
what
was
you
the
do.
point of is that at the end game? Or, so that's why I say if it's daily, if it's your daily habit to exercise, regardless if you gain 10 pounds or lose 10 pounds, you're healthier, you feel better. What does it matter what you weigh? So I think that's more the way we need to start to look at things is, one, who says that you need to weigh any weight? Because the one thing that's, anybody's ever taken a biology class, muscle weighs more than fat. So you can be leaner, but weigh more because of the way, how muscle is heavier than fat. And I get people
That's
have their
right.
ideal weight and their, whatever, but my point is exercise to feel good, exercise so that your body moves its energy through it properly and digests its food and does all the things that it's supposed to do and gets the the built up energy out of it and moves it, the muscles and the bones and everything else, so that it can lubricate and doesn't build up that static, so that disease can set in. Those are the reasons you should be exercising, not because you want to exercise to make your soul better, not your body look better, because it'll happen naturally. Well, your body's going to do what it's going to do, but if there is a lot of people who have really killer bodies that are completely unhealthy. So don't equate a good body with being healthy.
And another aspect of it is how much did you enjoy to get there?
Well, exactly. And, we only get this much time on this planet. So are you going to do it killing yourself and depriving yourself of everything that you love? Or are you going to do it enjoying yourself? That's a huge reason I switched from weightlifting to yoga. I loved seeing how I looked when I weightlifted and stuff, but I hurt all the time. My back hurt, my neck hurt, my shoulders hurt, everything hurt. And it was like, why am I doing this? Like, yeah, I'm really strong. For what? And then I started doing yoga and like I just felt amazing afterwards and during. And it's like, well, I can either feel horrible and be able to lift a lot of weight, or I can feel great the whole time and after. Like, what's really the goal here?
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is in everything, that some people definitely feel better lifting weights than
Yeah,
doing
I'm not,
yoga.
whatever does for
No,
you.
I know you aren't,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
just to remind again, it's whatever it is yours. And again, I agree with this weightlifting just because I am not so much into it. Sorry, like the theory of it. So I may hurt myself, right? But if you have that knowledge, that's important. Then you know how you're working out, what you're doing well. With yoga, it's a less of probably the danger of hurting yourself, but at the same time it's no benefit if you're doing it just the way you think and it's not exactly the breathing and so on. And then also I had yoga practitioners divided opinions about that. Some are like, just intuitively do it, right? Well, what if I don't really have my intuition developed, right? Or I'm not that agile and so on. And then some are like, yeah, it's very important how you breathe during this turn or during this stretch and so on, right? Because this is exactly what is moving this energy, what is pushing this block and so on, right? So yeah, I don't know.
I think they're both
That's
right in a way. I think there is definitely an intuitive aspect to it, but you have to know to some degree what you're doing and why you're doing it, I think, to get the full benefit out of it. I mean, I've seen, I've coached kids from all different ages up to adults, and I've seen plenty of people do stretches and they have no idea why or what they're stretching, but they're doing the movement and it doesn't do anything for them because they don't know what they're doing, but they're going through it. So I get the idea of what they're saying. There's that you have to have some level of like, okay, I'm turning this way to accomplish what? Am I just turning to turn, or am I trying to, that's it, whatever. So I think, yeah, there is that level of awareness. Me personally, I watched quite a few, I wouldn't say necessarily different. It was the same guy. I must have said the P90X guy, Tony Horton. He did, I did P90X a couple times.
so
And
what
then
is that?
it was a weight, one of those like DVD home things that you do. It was
Okay,
real
is he
big,
like
like
a
10
famous
years.
person?
I think so. I thought he was. I don't know. Beachbody. I don't know if you guys have those things,
Which
but
body, I guess.
yeah, I think he was part of that or something like that. Anyway, he used to have a bunch of during the pandemic, actually, he did a bunch with his wife just on YouTube for free. And I just was following along those and just kind of remembered, each one would be a little bit different. He would kind of vary it up a little bit. But so I just kind of memorized, his different things and the things that worked for me. And then I got different messages, from Ariah while doing yoga of different things to do and try, and how it can help my body and ways to, kind of the order to do things in, so that it kind of opens up, my whole, because basically a lot of my yoga session is kind of self-chiropractic care, where I'm just kind of going through and opening everything up, and from my neck all the way down to my toes. Just kind of, they showed me how to kind of open everything, just doing that. And some days I go harder, some days I go easier, just depends on how I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm. So this your recent channeling session, basically you started talking about the message, the overall message, then we started talking about the kind of like misconceptions about certain things, and we ended up by the sports topic. Do you want to go back and say what was the sequence of the messaging that you got? I mean, I don't know how it lasted long, an hour, 3 hours?
I think it was like an hour and a half, this one. So first my higher self came through, and we were just kind of discussing my own contempt for humanity, and how I need to get over that. And that's sort of through and that was when the message, forgive them for they know not what they do, came through again for me. And, just kind of understanding that, sort of what we were talking about previously, how people are programmed and they don't know any better, and they think that they're doing the right thing for the most part. And so we have to understand that and not judge people based on that, and not let that bother the way we affect, or the way that we think about them, or the way that we do things shouldn't be affected based on how they react to things. So regardless of how they feel or what they think or whatever, that's because they've been programmed to think or feel a certain way, and we shouldn't judge them for that, because a lot of us were there at one point too, and we were just lucky enough to be able to realize and break free of that. So kind of understand where people are, and know that there's a reason why they think the way they do or act the way that they do, and it's probably not something that they're consciously aware of. So understanding that makes it a little easier to deal with, the people out there. So that was my message to myself. And then Ariah came through, and yeah, the mission is the mission. That was kind of the biggest overall theme. We're here to do a mission, regardless of rewards or outcomes or material gain, monetary gain, anything like that. It's
And the mission is
to raise the vibration, to heal, to help in any way we can. So however that gets done, regardless of whatever outcomes come out of it, that's what I came here to do, and that's what I gotta do.
Mm-hmm. When we talked about the goals, and like you're doing something not knowing what you're actually doing and what you're achieving, that's hard. So that's probably where a lot of people are going to, I'm still in it too. Okay, I understand this mission, because I think that's all of our missions. I'm not sure, basically.
I think the ones who are probably watching this or involved in
So
this.
do you think there are different missions?
Well, every one of us, are you talking about like star seeds or whatever, that sort of mission wise, or like, because I think that there's like regular kind of humans, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I think that there's,
I think I'm a regular human, but I still have the same mission, just to heal and love.
How do I say it? I think we're all human. I'm not trying to, say I'm not human or anything like that. We're all human, obviously. But I think
no, but I mean,
like
I'm not
earth souls and like souls that came here to help with the ascension process.
Yeah. I don't think I'm that. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I don't know, because how do I know? I don't know. I don't have somebody.
Do you have like a? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't say how you would.
So
I was told, so I can't. I kind of got the feeling first, but
Well, mm, that's what's confusing, right? That what I have and what other people have at the same time now, and then there will be so many who will go through the same thing what maybe I went through the past 10 years, right?
Hmm.
So let's say I didn't stay in the same marriage for my whole life, just like my grandmother did, no matter how much she suffered, right? So
Hmm.
that is like an awakening to me.
Hmm.
Yes, but
Yeah,
it's,
changing the
I
cycle.
was also heavily programmed, but there is a difference, right? So maybe there is like a generation that the planet was kind of ascending already. It's not like, oh, it started right now in 2021 or 20, right? I think
No, it started
it
with
was,
the hippies. They were the first wave.
yeah, yeah. And so there would be like a one example of it that, just generation upon generation, you do see different patterns, although
Hmm.
repetition of some, of course, like let's say money making, there will probably always be. Well,
Yeah.
for
Well,
now, yes.
yeah, but I think if you think about what I said earlier, if everybody took on the mentality of the mission is the mission, regardless of what we get out of it, things have to be done. If everybody just did what had to be done, we really wouldn't need money.
Right.
But that's sort of a much distant
Much
egalitarian,
distant.
sort of.
And so when I said, like, for example, I would read a book when I was 14. I remember something happened to me when I was a child. I remember I had this different experience like 3 years ago. And then I had this crazy encounter with the dark energy that came and exploded in my, solar plexus. Some kind of other entity came to protect me, right? And it's like, who am I don't know, how is it happening to me? I still didn't get. It's like, sit with it and ask. I did so many times, nothing, right? So all I'm concluding is like, yeah, I did the quantum healing therapy, or the hypnosis, the QHHC, whatever. And I did get to speak through my higher self, and I did get to see the galactic family and so on. And it was like amazing. And I even replay back this one, picture in my head where I was in the mission. It was like a military base. And I'm like, wow, that probably could be even Mars, because it was really red, And now they're talking so many people about, like, there's like, I had this, I don't know whether vision or dream or something, and it was like red and blah blah blah, and it was nothing and plain, and I'm like, yeah, that was mine, and they talk about it as a Mars, so I'm like, what, you know? And so these things are going on, but do I think that I am starseed, or I'm some kind of, you know hybridized, some, I don't know. Nobody came to me directly and tell me, like, hey, you, now I'm gonna like talk to you and explain who you are and so on. But I do get the same understanding. That's my mission. My higher self told me, you are here to love and show everybody how to love better, because you know how to love better and you are not doing it. Okay.
So, and I could be wrong. This is my own interpretation of things that I've gathered. So, well, all combined, let's say, Earth is a school. I've channeled that. We know that, right? Earth is a school for
Yeah,
evolutionary, progression, whatnot.
so cute.
So, huh?
It's so cute. It's cool. It's just cool. Yeah.
um, so there is the hands-off approach, right? Of let's let them evolve. Let's let them fight. Let's let them love. Let's let them figure everything out for themselves. Let's not intervene. Um, but I think we've kind of, I don't want to say we've kind of reached a point where this ascension process is changing everything, and there's these beings that came here to help to raise that consciousness from all over the universe, from what I understand. So it's sort of they're not helping from the outside. We kind of help now. We're helping from the inside. So, but we ourselves have to remember who we are in order to sort of remember our mission and our purpose and all those different things. And it can very easily, there's fallen angels that go the other way. There's anything can happen once we come through. So it's that that mission that other people, and I the way I believe I understand is there are native human souls, like earth
That's what I
souls,
think I am. Yeah.
and that there are See, and I think that there are, well, I guess they wouldn't be native if they originated, if they didn't originate on Earth. But I think that there are people who have incarnated several times on Earth also that have a good understanding. So it may feel native to you, but maybe you came here a long time ago from a, wherever. And I have no idea. I'm just totally,
That's
speculating.
also confusing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
because
I
I
had,
get the feeling that's what I have. I've been here several times, but they told me I came a long time ago. So
and they were talking about the 144,000 souls again.
mhm.
So I was like, okay, that's differently put. So I was like, okay, that's refreshing. And yes, I know that, I had life in Lemuria, I had life in Atlantis. I have like this energies from, let's say, you know, I'm not directly from Sirius, but apparently I have energy from Sirius. So I don't understand that, what does that mean? But I think I'm the native human. Maybe I just sometimes, I don't know how it works with these souls that they get a boost or something from particular,
Oh, well,
you
I
know.
think us trying to comprehend it is probably damn near impossible. But I do know, from what I understand, so there's obviously the God who is, everything, the creator, whatever you want to say is. So we're all one to some degree, right? And then there's that fractaling of these different souls into oversouls that fractal into smaller souls that goes on and on, probably, infinitely. So yeah, maybe you're part of a soul that was native to Earth that fragmented, that also is, so it could be, because that's how they said, why there's so many different people who may remember being Mother Mary or whatever else, and it's this big oversoul that fractaled into all these other souls, so they have these same memories of that oversoul that was that, but then it fractaled into, so all these people have these memories of having this life and this incarnation because they are part of that bigger oversoul that did have that incarnation, if that makes sense. So it is a part of them. So I don't remember what the question was exactly, but I think that may be similar to what happened is, or, I'm just spitballing, obviously, but, perhaps part of your soul is native to Earth and foreign to it at the same time, and I'm sure that it goes, us trying to comprehend this bigger universe, it's hard enough for us to comprehend Earth as it is. Trying to comprehend
Yeah,
the bigger picture
um,
is.
um, it's, I guess, what you get through encounters, maybe with different entities. And also there are people, like you were watching that one video, I would call it, or like a presentation about the programming, um MK Ultra and so on, right? So
Mhm.
they know, and they know what's happening, so they can live another life and retract back to what happened to them in their previous life. This is who they were, so this is what was done to them and so on, right? So um in the end, how does that matter? I just came, because I was searching for it all, and I want to know what to do here, because I'm kind of trapped in this society, and if I know better, maybe I would act differently. But then, I just came down to this idea that whatever, doesn't matter where I am and who I am, all I have to do is just live this freaking life the best I can.
And that's
you
exactly
know
it. And like they told me, and believe me, I get it. It's difficult because we have financial obligations, we have bills to pay. There's all these 3D reality aspects that don't go away just because we're like love and light. Like it doesn't just make things disappear. On the other hand, so far everything has been taken care of. Every need has been met, and it's just kind of putting my faith into that and understanding it's a two-way street here. I do, maybe it's not the expectation or the outcome that I had hoped for or whatever, but it's getting me through, right? And what else do I need?
what else do you need? Well, the only thing is that it's the expectations, right? Maybe we got brainwashed a little bit.
Yeah.
That is not fair, but again,
Well, I
I
mean, it's
don't
only
think
human
that
to
we
expect
too.
to do something to receive something back, you know?
Yes, but we're not that tragic examples. Some people probably got much more messed up.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Mhm.
right? Um, sorry, yeah, so you were saying, okay, but you have to do something for it, right? All the things are taken care of, you were saying, but you have to do something for it, right? It's not just like sit at home and meditate and just like, because I'm connecting to the, I don't know, the
Well, and I know
what
this is
kind of
going to
world
sound
would I say?
crazy, but I kind of do think that's part of it. And I know this sounds, insane, but I don't think we fully grasp our vibration and our light that we emit and how much it can
Yes, I
affect
get it, but I
behind the
don't mean
scenes.
that
And
you are just like sitting by the
well, but
river
that's what I'm
doing
getting
nothing
at.
all day.
But that's what I'm getting at. So we think I'm out there hustling and bustling doing my job. Well, what's that doing to our vibration? What's that doing for the overall progression of humanity? If our vibration is, if we're a light in this whole thing and our vibration is held down, are we helping? Regardless, yeah, we're making money, we're hustling, we're doing all the society 3D things that are good, but are we actually helping and doing our mission? Now, if I'm sitting there quietly meditating, now I'm glowing. Now my vibration is spreading. Now
Yeah,
I'm
but
doing what I wanted. And I see it, I know it, and believe me, I'm trying to wrap my mind around how this makes me money myself because but I think what I'm getting at is that is more important in the bigger picture. Me radiating that good positive energy that I came here to do rather than making some money, in this. So they are looking at it from that perspective. We'll take care of you if you take care of the things that you are supposed to do, which is
yeah,
meditate, spread your love and your light. When you go out to the store, you're Reiki and everybody or whatever, like doing your end in that regard. And I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it too, but somehow I always have money to pay the bills. I always got money to eat. I always have my needs taken care of. Everything is, and so I'm trying to, and I think that's the faith part of I do what I'm supposed to do. I take care of the things on my end, and you'll be taken care of on the other end. It may not be the fancy way that I would prefer, or living the life of luxury or whatever, but I won't be going hungry, and the bills will be paid. So,
mhm.
uh,
That is it exactly. But what I meant is like you still let's say don't subscribe exactly to the minimum wage, working 8 hours just to do the same thing when you're doing the meditation and doing exercise and enjoying yourself, and you still have that minimum, right?
yeah,
And then working minimum wage, let's say in even in the job that is like normal, one of the normal I would consider for myself, like if I have to work in the retail, that is like the most boring for me. But if I have to, I would curse yeah, like everybody. I would hate it. So I don't do go to jobs like this or for jobs like that, right? So, but yeah, I know, I understand what you mean.
yeah, and I mean it's hard, and there are jobs that obviously we enjoy and we do glow and we do radiate that love and whatever. So they can work in tandem together as well. But it's like, am I going to a job that is going to definitely lower my vibration and put me in a state that
No,
is not good for anybody, but it's going to pay, and I think that I'm, I'm starting to kind of put the dots together that maybe that's the trade-off of, you do what you're supposed to do on your end and we'll make sure the needs are taken care of on our
mm,
end. And, it's not going to be maybe fabulous or exactly extraordinary. And maybe it will be in the future. I don't know. But that's the whole thing is no expectations and just do it because it needs to be done.
right, right. Well, and there are those views that you value yourself. And so there was actually a very good podcast that I was watching yesterday with he is an older person, like 75, and he is very down to earth, like a spiritual, I don't know, I wouldn't call him spiritual teacher, but he's like a person that lives, and he had four major like teachers, spiritual teachers in his life, and he applies, what he learns he applies in very like humble, normal, simple life. He was a professor at the university college, and then also he was like doing martial arts and yoga and all that, and then also he published books, right? And so nothing crazy, no famous person who is like living how would I say, like billionaire or something, right? and that is just very admirable of him, and he helped so many people. He did have some retreats in Costa Rica, but it was more like so his name is Dan Millman, and he has the Peaceful Warrior. I think it's quite famous. So it's just like, be peaceful but warrior spirit, right? So you put through the life,
Mhm.
and that is exactly what you're talking about. So he never dreamt of becoming rich, and I don't think that he's, like totally at the edge, right? He's got more, but very like middle ground. And so wherever it took him, right, he had money for it if he needed. So he needed to maybe travel to China for 3 months. That's not cheap, but then he also stayed home for the next 5 years, and he was publishing 2 3 books or something. So it's like that. And so um what I was trying to say is that he was saying how much you value yourself. So you negotiate basically with the universe, right? I do value myself for more, so I expect more, and I want to do more, and I will get more, right? And
Yeah.
so it's a good viewpoint. Like, it's also that some people would just like suffer through their entire life because it's for the higher purpose, right? And then what is it good for if you are like a martyr, suffering all the time? That's the old fashioned Catholic kind of view on life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. and
Well, on
and
the
the
other
same
side,
goes for
okay.
monks. It's just the same idea with the monks, right? They do
All right.
nothing but just meditate. And then they are some of them, they're still people. I'm hungry and I can't eat because my guru, or they have who, the highest monk is, I don't know called what, how they
I'm
call
not
them,
sure.
doesn't matter,
I'm not sure.
master, yeah,
Yeah.
right. He told me I can't until I do something, right? Because it's the self inner discipline, and I don't know the, how would I call it, anyway. So it's a life of suffering sometimes, and you maybe need to endure something unnecessarily. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, to that end, I don't remember what my other point was, but to that end,
Sorry.
no, no, no big deal. It wasn't anything that important. The balance is the key, because there is points in life where suffering is totally important, and it gives you such an appreciation for not suffering, and so I think that it's super key. I think it's great for somebody to fast for 5 days and see what that feels like and see what it does for you. And obviously everybody's different, so not everybody can do that, but I think that there is something to be said for having that discipline and that deprivation of certain things, and seeing what it feels like, and seeing what it feels like to get the reward on the other end of that too. There's all these different little lessons that can be learned and things like that, so I see the benefit of them. But I see the benefit of eating chocolate cake and going and having steak too. Like, I see all those benefits at the same time, and I think that it's not, you shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that, or you can only be like, I think it's go fast for 5 days and then go eat a steak and some chocolate cake. Like, do both. Like, have, why not experience both ends of the spectrum and see what everything is like? But you don't, and I think that's one thing that gives people a better appreciation for the small things in life, is when they're taken away from you. I remember, like when I was in the army and basic training and stuff, and we didn't get to sit in chairs or anything like that. So when I got to go home and sit in a chair for the first time in months, it was like, oh man, I'm appreciative to sit in a chair again. And how many people even think like that, or, and so many people in the first world, the fact that we can go in our house and go into the bathroom and have clean water come out and flush our waste away. So many people take that for granted. Like, you don't have to go outside into some hole in the middle of winter, or, like, or worse, whatever. So, just the little things that makes you appreciative. But just how, when you're sick, when you're done, you're so appreciative for how good it feels to feel normal. So it's just those little contrasts in life. And I think that on the other end, we always focus on what we take away to make those things feel better, but it's also the other side of it too, that we took this thing away to get this nice reward on the other end, so it makes this that much better too. And it's makes this, so it's that balance, and how each thing kind of plays off of one another. But yeah, I think that you have to have contrast in life. That's why the whole, like, everybody who's stuck in like the love and light and totally disregards the darkness and how it affects this whole the balance. It's a balance. It's not, we're not trying to get rid of the darkness entirely, we're trying to make sure it's balanced. And through that there is the light who uses the dark, and a lot of people can't accept that or don't think that way. And that's the reality of it. There's it's not as black and white, it's not as clear cut as most people think. It's a tricky, convoluted whole situation. But I think those contrasts are important to give us perspective.
That's all about it. Yes. So did you get any other, now I wouldn't say conclusion, message, I don't know how to call it, revelations?
I'm trying to think what else was covered in there was a lot of kind of hitting home on the point that I was just kind of making, not so much the contrast, but the mission is the mission. And then they just talked about like my healing, kind of where that's going to go, and the lessons I've kind of learned through the different sessions that I've done on people so far. And just
So
saying
where's
how
your healing, where's your healing gonna go? Where's it gonna take you?
I have no idea. I know that I'm just kind of touching the tip right now, I think, and still learning. Because kind of the way they explain it to me is, for those who don't know or whatever, like when I do the hands-on healing, I see different things. I see sometimes your trauma, sometimes loved ones come through and give me messages, or it's different for everybody. Sometimes I just see your energy, so it's different every time, and it's different for everybody. And that they said that's how it's going to be too. And have no expectations for that. But so me learning how to kind of, so they basically said that this is the next level or the next step in like Reiki healing. So Reiki healing, if people don't know, it's you're channeling that divine energy through you basically, and you're allowing it to go through you to allow the other person to heal themselves essentially. So what I do is I'm like an amplifier of that energy, and I can focus that energy and direct it where I want it to go. So I can see it in my mind's eye. I can see your energy. I can see dark spots, or it just depends on what it looks like. Sometimes it's like this weird monster looking. I mean, it's some of the stuff is crazy. I was actually telling my wife I want to write a book. I mean, if for nothing else, just a collection for myself of the things that I see, these like battles that I go through between the light and the dark. And it's wild. Like the I'll just kind of go through. I was doing a session not too long ago, and I was seeing like this dark, like ocean looking thing, and then it kind of looked like an arm of like an octopus coming up out of it. And then so this is going to sound totally insane for most people, so whatever. When I do these battles or have these sessions, like Archangel Michael's almost always there, Jesus, Archangel Raphael helps out a lot. But anyways, so I'm seeing this battleground. The darkness is always on the left and the divine team is always on the right. And this like wave, like arm, octopus arm kind of thing comes up, and Archangel Michael comes out of nowhere and just like cuts off the tip of it. And then I hear, well, I know Ariah is there also, and then Jesus is kind of like the general. He kind of guides the what's going on and whatever. But he was telling me, he said make a weapon, and I'm like, how do you make a weapon? He's like, think of a weapon that you want to use and use it. And so I like thought of this, I don't know, like a missile launcher thing, I guess, and it just shot this like light beam out. And whenever it hit what was left of that arm, it like immediately turned into light and like came over and transmuted. And they were saying that that's basically what this eternal battle is between light and dark. Is it's not that one ever completely wins or loses, it's basically turning the lights on and off. At one point the light transmutes the dark and it's all light, and then the light goes out and it's all dark, and it's this eternal battle of regaining ground, I guess, in a way, and regaining balance. And so they kind of showed me that while I'm doing these battles, I guess, I can basically create whatever weapons I want. So this like other, like it looked like stadium lights came up out of the part that I had just transmuted. So basically, as I was taking away their weapons, we were able to make our weapons out of the light, or out of them being transmuted into the light. Now we were able to use their light against them essentially. So it was kind of cool. Yeah, it looked like stadium lights came out of it and were shooting down these like light missiles, and then it just totally obliterated the rest of it and it was gone. And then there was like these angels over here on the right, and they were shooting these arrows down, and Archangel Michael was doing his thing. But it's just like one of the that was the craziest battle I've seen. And I wish I could actually show people what it looks like, because I'm sure my description is not doing it anywhere the justice of what I see. But yeah, that's just one kind of example of the different things that I've seen when I do this. And people get this this darkness attached to them, and whether it's there's like these energetic leeches that get stuck on people that I've seen where they're more unconscious, and then there's like conscious. There's I was watching something the other day, and it was talking about like King Solomon. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he was real big into like magic and stuff like that back in the day. And they were talking about how each person has like 10,000 demons that follow them constantly or something. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I know that they're following me all the time, and I can feel their presence at times, and definitely when I drop down low enough to be susceptible to them. But with that being said, with this energy is what I'm getting at, that I do believe that people are affected way more than they realize by negative energy and literal, like what people would describe as demons, and everybody has their own interpretation of what this energy would be called.
Okay,
or whatever.
I want to ask you, because the same author, Don Millman, he was actually talking about that too. The demons can be as your anxiety, your fear, your, I don't know, sadness, but like anger and so on, right? So they're like basically blocks, energetic blocks too. That's not from him, that's from somewhere else. But basically, if you store a lot of anger, that's in your solar plexus, right? Yeah. And it can create autoimmune diseases and other forms of diseases. So that's something that we by now all know. All.
Well, this is how I think it works, if I'm just kind of speculating, and I agree with him, but I think it's kind of like it's like that voice in your ear. It's like, hey, do this, do that, and then it creates that energy, and then it creates that block. So they're kind of like out here.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, you're not good enough. You can't do that. Stupid. You're too fat. You're too this. All those negative thoughts that we have.
But those are your ego, or your mind. You are saying that those are the negative forces.
Yes.
Yes. Let's
You'll notice that as you raise your vibration, they don't happen. When you're low, that's when you start to hear those voices. When your vibration is high, those voices don't exist, because they can't tap into your vibration. You're too high. But when you drop down to where they are, then they can fuck with you. And that's what I had to learn.
So
because they've been with me my whole life.
Yeah, all of us, because that's where we were. That's where we were just.
There's obviously those of us who are here to do something more important than others. I shouldn't say it like that. I don't want to put myself in like that. We have our job is to wake people up. So obviously they're going to mess with us more than people whose job isn't to wake people up, right? Because they're going to try to keep us down so that we're not doing, because we're a force multiplier. A regular average person who just came here to be, they're not here to awaken people and create that. So they're going to obviously focus their attention more on people who are in those sort of areas, I guess.
So he has a really interesting book, the same person, and he talks about his teacher Socrates, and that person went from, I think, being a regular person fighting his demons into spreading love and light, just to put it this, in these terms, or in this term. And so he did learn with a lot of sages and really like wise people, shamans and nun and all that, right? Enlightened nun and so on. So at the end of his life, because he was really old when Dan Millman, the author, met him in his 20s, right? And so, maybe these, I don't know how you call them, like a regular people. I don't know how you call them. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sound condescending when I say that.
I don't,
by any
yeah,
means.
and I understand. So we probably all can just become that, right? Because it happens somewhere where you can change that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'm just
Yeah.
saying more specifically to people who
So, I
incarnated here
mean
with
your
a
destiny,
specific mission. I'm sorry.
that mission, that destiny, that's what I mean. Like you can change that, right? So from this
Oh, sure.
regular person, you can just become the, I can say, and you enlighten yourself, and then
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
like, I don't know, tip over or flip over, and then you are the one who, I don't know, is having disciples to follow him or her. I don't know how not to
Yeah.
say it.
No, I definitely agree. What I think is the difference, and I'm totally speculating here. I have no evidence to back me up in any way. What I think it is I think that there is a group of us who came here specifically with the intent to raise the vibration. We're here with a mission. And then there are people who incarnated here simply to experience this, ascension process. And there are
Right.
people who incarnated here to do the opposite, to help stop it or to try to stop it. I think there are people who are just in the middle, who just want to be here and let's just experience life and the lessons that it has to offer, so everything in between. And so I would just, from what I've gathered from the channeling, from how they've paid so much attention to me, is that I think that people who are here with a specific mission of, changing their lifestyle essentially is what's going to end up happening. They're going to obviously pay us a little bit more attention than they would someone who's just here to, live and just experience.
Exactly. I get it now. The some more important entities are more important for the other entities. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and but like you said, anybody could get the fire and say, hey, I want to do this and I want to be that, force multiplier as well. You don't have to
So
be, it doesn't have to be your mission that you came here to do. You can just say that, hey, that's a noble cause that I want to be a part of. There's no.
that's very interesting that you're saying it, because a lot of it is all about our free will.
Right.
So even though there are people who have this more particular mission, so we can consider them as like they have maybe different DNA markers, right?
Maybe.
They can also choose, like, I don't want to participate anymore, and you can break this contract, right? Or you can
Absolutely.
actually step in. I don't know. And so, I mean, if when you were talking about those people that are here just to pass through the life and I don't know, experience, right? Whatever the experience, that their free will decide which direction they want to go. And so they can become souls that are going to be touching lives of other people, right? And they are just as, I don't know, with the kind of DNA marker that the Earth has majority of.
Well, I think one thing we have to understand is our DNA is always, evolving too. And the sun plays a big
So
part in
it's
that.
not written in the stone.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think that's where we get so, nuance is a word that gets lost in our society so often, and everything has to be black and white for whatever reason, and we forget that there's everything in between as well. And I think anytime we talk about is this possible or is that, anything's possible, anybody could do anything, like they told me, angels come here to, part of this 144 or whatever, and they're not all going to awaken to the right team. They're not all going to, some of them are going to go the complete opposite direction. Some aren't going to awaken at all. It's, it just depends. And some could awaken and say, fuck this, I want to go play for the dark side. Like it's your free will.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. So that's where, people have to understand that there's no, this is that, and that's that. I mean, anything can be changed. It's always changing, not everybody's going to wake up at all.
What about the solar activity? The eruptions are having a huge impact on our energies, frequency levels.
The solar flares, you mean?
Mm-hmm. Now it's more intense. There's different vibration
Uh,
to it.
yeah, I've been hearing different things about the solar flares, and from what I understand, a lot of these DNA upgrades are coming from the sun and the light codes that are
Oh
coming
yeah, the
through
light
it,
codes,
and
right?
yeah.
Yes.
So, which now you understand why they're trying to block out the sun and cloud seeding and all these other different things, but keeping you inside quarantined keeps you out of the sun. Um, but yeah, that's about as much as I know about it. Is that these? I've heard so many different, and that's I really don't even watch hardly. I mean, I watch really nobody's channelings anymore. I try to just kind of keep to myself anymore because I don't want to get one, like we were talking about before, with getting my own subconscious involved. I don't want to have any information that may sway my channeling in any way or anything like that. But also, just so many channelers are into like predictions and things that and I feel the way I feel about predictions right now is all of them are true in some timeline, and we just don't know which one we're going towards. So I think that people are making true predictions. Whether we end up on that timeline and experiencing that is a completely different story. And I also think the timelines are being smashed together right now. I think all kinds of crazy stuff is happening where we don't fully understand. But as far as making a future prediction, I think is damn near impossible without just completely lucking out at this point, because I think there's so many different possibilities and there's so many different understanding how the collective timeline works. It's a combination of the individual's timelines. Now you understand that there's 7+ billion people, almost 8 billion people on the planet. We have the internet. So all of these different factions are reading all of this different news and believing different things that are going to happen and different outcomes, and creating all these different timelines that can either coexist or not. And so you can see how, and I to some extent believe that some of these realities are happening simultaneously, and people are literally, it's pretty obvious that we're on different frequencies than a lot of other people. And I don't know if they are literally in a different reality dimension, or however you want to say it, than us, or to some degree, because you know as we've talked about before, we can, there can be three people who witness an event, and they're all going to have their own account of what happened. And that is becoming more and more apparent, that everybody's account is completely different nowadays, where you watch the same news segment or whatever it is, and people have completely different things that they gathered from it or took from it or whatever. So whether that's due to us being literally on different frequencies or dimensions or however it works, I'm not totally sure. But um, I forget where I was kind of just rambling there. But
Well, we were talking about the, and also I've heard only this year, 2022, you have only chance to ascend.
no, the ascension
So,
process happens as fast as we make it happen.
well, giving power away, that's what you were basically talking about. That what you're comes down again to what you're paying attention to, who you are with, what you believe in, what you make happen for yourself. That's
Right.
what's your timeline. And then you're saying that there are so many people like ants, and so if they would disrupt this ant hill, every ant starts going in a different direction because they don't have the one, I don't know, there's some kind of vibration that holds them together, what they do exactly, like in these lines, of ants. It's like
Mm-hmm.
so perfect. And once you disrupt it, they start walking around uh,
I don't know what to do.
endlessly looking for doing nothing, right? And that's what,
That's what we're here for.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So
hopefully we can give them a little direction about what's going on, because that's exactly, I mean, it's going to disrupt their little ant life where they followed this and they did this and
it
they were told what
disrupted
to do and
mine.
what to think. And yeah, and it's going to be hard for a lot of people, and a lot of people aren't going to be able to accept what's happening. And I think that's where we come in, and sort of to, we, I think, got kind of I mean, when did your awakening start?
Sorry, when?
When did your awakening start, like,
That's
approximately?
what I think I was saying it off the video or on this video. I don't really know. How do I
I
know?
mean, like 10 years ago, you said something like that.
It
My
could
point just
be,
being that a lot of people are going to get all of this information like right now, as we've had years to kind
yes,
of absorb it and kind of
yes.
process and all those things, where people
You
are
know
going
what
to
I
be, here's all
realized?
this information all of a sudden.
Yeah, I realized that I was not, so I was 6 years in the same place working as a teacher. And the past two, okay, so 2 years, it's been the pandemic, and then 2 years more, right? So basically 2 years, I was like really happy. And then 2 years, I was doing it like an idiot, not enjoying it, really suffering. And I didn't change anything, right? Now the 2 years are the pandemic years. And I'm like, that's what I just realized like 2 days ago. What was I doing? Why didn't I change that? So those people who had that huge pressure and they had that courage to change that before 2016, 17, I don't know, 18 and so on, right? Now maybe they're more lucky, because now I'm basically trying to move on, doing something new when I'm really limited by the government, for example, right?
Mhm.
That's the external boundaries that I have no control over. I have only control
Mhm.
over my internal boundaries. And so that's why it's so much more difficult, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's such a huge thing too, that a lot of us come to the realization of that yearning for freedom. I mean, that was my huge awakening. I mean, the second time, I guess, or second, you know, when it started, it was, asking like, what do I want out of this? Like, what am I, freedom. And, the unfortunate part about freedom in this world, it's money. Money is
Hmm.
freedom in this planet. And I mean, I hate to say it because but it is what it is. People who have money are free. You don't have to worry about paying a speeding ticket if you're a billionaire. It doesn't affect you, right? You can go travel anywhere. You can do anything you want. Most laws don't apply to you. You're free.
Yep. Hmm. Hmm.
If you're poor, it's the opposite. So that's kind of the conclusion that I had to come to. And I mean, there's obviously other layers to that too. Like you said, you're kind of locked down and trapped in your country. So there's that extra added layer of, but yeah, I mean, freedom is kind of, and it's actually funny because I'm meeting up with a friend of mine who had a podcast before. We've had some really awesome discussions. And one of the things we're going to talk about tomorrow is, you know, I kind of have boiled down what I think, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but free will is, um, or, if you're looking what's good and bad or evil or whatever, and it would, basically to me, free will would be what is good or right, and control would be evil or bad. And that's kind of how, because we were having the discussion of, you know, I was like, learning about things about like subliminal messaging and stuff like that. And I'm like, what if I did that in my music, where I put subliminal messages in the music, but for good, like positively, and to help people, become more motivated, whatever it is, help them lose weight, however. And then I started thinking, like, but then I'm kind of affecting someone's free will without them knowing, like, and so I'm controlling them in a way. So is that a good thing? Even though my intent is good and what I'm trying to get out of it is good, I'm still subconsciously controlling somebody else against their will. So technically, to me, that's evil, right? To me, that's
No,
what
no,
evil is.
no, because that's very interesting that you are bringing this up, because there was something that I did get as well, when there is a positive control, kind of like this, you're channeling, right? When Ariah comes and he would tell you, do the yoga, it's beneficial for you, right? It's kind of
Hmm.
controlling you, because it's kind of telling you what is good for you and you want to follow, right?
Hmm.
And it's not a negative control, it's a positive control, right?
But they
And
always say I have the free will to not do it.
yes,
So, but
exactly.
if I don't give somebody the free will of choosing, so subliminal messaging, for example, if I
That
play
would
you a
be
song that
that
has
the
subliminal
explanation is
messages
that,
that makes you a better person, but I'm still controlling you, so does that make me
but it's for,
evil?
so it's for the best interest. Is it for my best interest? Then it's not negative, right?
But the vaccine's for your best interest, right? The lockdowns are for your best interest, right?
Um, okay, well, no.
So that's a matter of perspective of whose best interest is what I'm getting at.
um, yeah, but it's like, let's say, imagine in your situation that you can relate to. Um, maybe you were talking about the how you spend your day, right? Whether you go and work somewhere because you just feel obliged and so on, right? So if you are to choose, let's say you're going to set up some kind of routine in your family that everybody's going to, for an hour between 8 and 9 in the morning before we go to work and school, everybody's going to, let's say, enjoy their time, maybe meditating, right? So it's for their best interest, right? And that's kind of like a rule, house rule, right? But it is beneficial. Maybe not everybody understands it because they're younger, older, and so on, but you're not doing anything harmful, right? So this is the same thing where you are putting the the messages, hypnotizing people, but they are positive, they are high vibrational messages. So they would accuse you, but you're hypnotizing people. But what is it, better to hypnotize them with the fearful messages from the social media, or is it better to say, just remember that you're love and light and so on? Doesn't matter that they don't get it, just like
Well,
I
that
would
was kind of
say.
my point that led me to it, was that there's so much subliminal messaging going on in the opposite direction that would sort
Yeah.
of even out the game a little bit. But and then like I said, I don't know that that's the right thing, in the grand scheme of, totally zooming out to the creator's perspective of Earth. Like, are we supposed to influence other people and towards our will, or are they supposed to figure it out on their own? Is it their, I don't know where that line is, because I know that, I'm here to help you, you help me, so on and so forth. But that's a conscious decision also. So is it, I don't know. That's just an
I guess
interesting
you
kind of
would
conundrum.
disclose it. The music contains subliminal messages, right?
And then it's all good.
And that's what it is, like, exactly, because you're questioning yourself. You feel subconsciously. Somewhere I was reading, and what it was like, subconscious mind is actually your higher self.
I think it's part of what I get out of it is I kind of feel like the subconscious mind is the sort of the data collector. It's almost like everything you ever come in contact with, ever see, hear, feel, touch, whatever, it's there for you to access if you want to at some point somehow.
That's why.
So it's sort of an indifferent record keeper in a way, to
Right.
me, I think.
That's why it's important to keep an eye on what you are absorbing.
Because it can say, hey, I saw this, and it could be completely false, right? But it saw it, it recorded it. It doesn't know if it's true or false. It just know it saw it and recorded it.
Right.
And so
Yes.
I think that when you access that subconscious, you can be accessing all of those things that you recorded, subconsciously or whatever.
Right.
But they may be right or wrong or whatever. So
what is the difference is the emotions that go with it. So let's say you are making the music, right? And then you put the subliminal messages. If you don't put disclaimer, but you feel, you say in your mind is very strong, and you would say it's for the good, but your heart is like, but you didn't tell them.
yeah.
And it's the conflict. It's already not okay. But if you are aligned and you disclose it and you feel good about it, and you really believe that it's for their good, then it's up to them to choose to watch it, listen to it or not, right? But you did your part.
I think you just answered the question right there. They're good. Not shouldn't be doing things for other people's. They should be doing it for their good. We can't determine what is good for somebody else or not good without their consent.
No, but there are so many products.
Well,
like
I guess there is a nuance to that too, because I mean, children don't really know any better. But yeah, so I guess
I wanted to use children, but
conundrum.
because it doesn't always relate to you, so I was like, I can't. But yeah.
Well, children are a tough one too, because we're here to teach children. They don't. That's part of the process, is to guide them in the right direction to the best that we can.
What I think subliminal messages is tricky for you is because it is unconscious, right?
It's the subversion of will, I think, because there's a
Or it's
chance
like
that
hidden or something, right? So it doesn't sound okay.
I guess what you said, if there was a disclaimer that you knew that you were doing it, then that would make it okay. But then there's also that, what if they play it on the radio and somebody hears it, or, what if someone plays it in someone's car that they didn't read the disclaimer and now they're getting subliminally messaged when they didn't choose to. And
but again,
it's for good, but I know but what is good and bad, I guess, is more or less what it boils down to.
And you're not
And
trying to manipulate them, right? Because
but it is, regardless of the intent, if you're changing the outcome of, I mean, that's what manipulation is, right? We have a negative connotation to the word manipulation, but I mean, it's really just changing. If I'm manipulating my finger, I'm making it move. So if I can make you move based on what I tell you, then I'm manipulating you, whether it's for the good or bad. But I guess my point being too, me telling you, hey, watch out, there's a puddle there, and you don't step in it, maybe your life path was to step in that puddle, right? So now I'm altering what you had set up because I'm changing. Does that make sense?
yeah,
So
it's I think
your
always
life
comes down
drastically would have
to,
changed stepping in that puddle, and now I just changed that for you, and now your life goes in a different direction because I stepped in and did something.
and
But
that's inevitable, right? Because let's say a lot of parents would do that exactly to avoid. And then so what I think it all boils down to whether it is in the best interest of both parties.
yeah, well, and that's why I say it's very,
Because again, if
it's a
you
hard
release
topic
the
because
song and then they find out that it's subliminal, no matter that it's good, it's against the rights,
right.
maybe, right?
And
So in
that's where
the
I feel
end,
like
you
with the
could be
government,
sued.
they can tell you it's for your own good, it's for everybody's good, but that's their opinion. And that's, you
And
talk
that's
to your
what's
friends
happening.
who are, telling you that they don't want you in your house without a vaccine, like that's their opinion of what the better good is, right? So if you have those type of people saying what's good for other people, then that's where it's like that line is very, very tricky because what's good for me and what I think is good for humanity may not be what you think is good for everybody. And so that's where I'm like,
That's
I
then
get my
only
intent, I know what
your,
my intent is, and I know but I can't say that intent has the same resonation or effect on you as I'm
and
hoping
it's
for.
not supposed to. That's what it is about, right? When you get these messages, live it through, because it is a school. That's what we are here to learn. So you do that in your best interest because you do believe, you have that trust. That's where you are. This is your truth, right? And that's all you live here. And
Yeah.
then if you find out, do better, right? And
Yeah.
so even if you, let's say, are at this judgment day or something, right? And then you're like, oh, I did that, damn. It's all good, because it's that's why we had so many lives and so many forms and so many experiences. So mm, I don't know, it's
And I think
that,
it's what goes down to what you said in the beginning. Does this and this agree? Is it right
yeah.
here and here? And if it is, then do it. And if not, because I have my hangups about it. I do think it is good, but I also have that hangup of I shouldn't be affecting other people's free will without their knowledge.
So it's an abuse, actually, because I realized that yesterday, that I am abusing myself. My heart isn't happy doing
Mm,
what I'm doing, but my mind is so strong to handle that.
mm,
But I'm abusing myself because my mind is stronger. So my heart is still kind of like pushing back, right? Am I doing
yeah.
the best for myself? No, because I'm not aligned. Right. So
Mm,
that's all that we are here to. Doesn't matter what kind of life it is. If your heart and mind is aligned, then you are doing your best life, living your
yeah.
best life. And I'm not. And that's what bothers me. So
Well,
I guess,
do you know the XYZ to get where you're trying to go, or is that what you're trying to figure out? Or is it
both.
just a matter of you got to do what you got to do right now?
Well,
And
it
sometimes that's where
does.
we are, so it's nothing to
Yeah.
be.
So I'm giving it a time to, because I obviously don't need to rush into certain decisions, but I know. And at the same time, it's a matter of money too.
And just know, I'm pretty sure we're still in Mercury retrograde, so they say don't make any like big life decisions during this time. I don't know when that ends, but maybe keep that in mind.
And again, even though, these flare-ups or retrogrades or some kind of alignment of stars, sometimes it's like, go the hell with that,
Yeah,
because if I depend on it too much, then I steer my life accordingly, right? So sometimes it's like, just don't hook yourself too much on like because now it's not a good time. And it's not because you said that, but it's, sometimes to be rational is like, okay.
yeah. No, I definitely, yeah. I don't. I mean, I don't put too much stuff into. I think there is, truth in that stuff, and I think that your belief in that stuff makes it more true also.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
but I've heard a lot of people say don't make big life decisions during Mercury
Yes, but
retrograde.
if you
So
blame, yeah, that's what it
throw
is.
it
Like
out
if
there
you
for whoever
blame
listens.
everything on,
Oh yeah,
so you
no
are
doubt.
taking the responsibility that you should have.
Well, I think more the way I'm taking it is maybe your mind isn't as clear as it would be when that's done. So you're not thinking, the decision may not be made as clear as you would have not in that. And
Yeah.
that's what I would take out of it more than I can't do it in this time because, and I don't know. Yeah, everybody's different. And I don't know that I've never studied enough to, especially my own self, to say that this affects me one way or the other, or I shouldn't have done this then, or I'm more to the belief of you're going to do whatever you're going to do because that's what's supposed to happen at that time. But yeah, just throwing it out there from whoever it
It's also
sticks
like
to.
hormonal disbalance in your body, right?
Mm,
Same thing.
yeah,
So you get married and then the next night you realize, oh my gosh, what did I do? I just like, I don't know what happened to me.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
that's
Buyer's
an
remorse.
extreme, but yes, we
Yeah,
do decisions like that, right? Because we're like overwhelmed by some emotion. So no, that's what it is. Like, yes, it is all true, all these, I don't know how would I say, like astronomical alignments of planets and stars and all that, but if you put all that responsibility out there and just like, oh, I just flow wherever it takes me, that's also not cool. That's all. Yeah.
and that's what's so hard because, like we said, living in the now, you kind of have to be that way, and so
But it's
it's
like,
very
what do I need to do? What do I need to do now? What do I need to do now? So sometimes it's like, oh, I'm just gonna be in the flow. What do I need to do now? I need to relax, do nothing.
yeah.
What do I need
Well,
to
and
do now?
that's
I need to cook because it's the dinner time and my family's waiting, right? So like
right.
that. Yeah.
And I think that is because the way they kind of explained it to me, and this will kind of wrap this up, but the I mentioned before, I think, how they told me to just lay in the river, and I'm like, okay, lay in the river, and it takes you where you're going to go. Don't fight, don't try to swim upstream, don't try to swim across, just let it take you where it's going to take you. But in rivers there are rocks and rapids and trees that fall into, so there's things that you also have to kind of pay attention to and avoid, or so that's kind of, it's not just a um laying there and doing nothing. You're still in the river, but you're kind of also guiding yourself within that river to avoid these obstacles, or hey, here's a nice piece of fruit dangling over, let's go grab that, let's guide ourselves in that, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a both, where you're flowing, but you're also paying attention, and you're picking up the signs that they're sending you to pay attention to, or you're watching the right videos, or the right, talking to the right people, or when you get that hunch to go somewhere all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden you meet somebody there, whatever it is, like pay attention to those things is more, I think, what it is, and go with your
That's a
gut
mindful
and
way
trust
of
your
living.
instinct.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not so much that you're just passively sitting here and waiting
exactly.
for someone to
Yeah.
come knock on your door and change your life. It's you're doing what you think you need to be doing and paying attention to the signs, and doing your best to take your action when you need to.
Yeah.
It's not just sitting there and meditating all day, like
So
I said.
what the flow is also is that a lot of people believe that everything is in my hands, right? But they take it literally like I have control. Well, you don't, right? And then there's the problem not being able to accept it. So going with the flow is exactly what you just explained, right? But it doesn't
Yeah.
mean passively just like dance this kind of like a snake dance or something, right? Just and and
Because
it's
here's what's going to happen, in my opinion, is going with the flow. So you're going to go meditate because that's what you should do, or whatever. Then you're going to get an idea in your meditation, and that idea, you can sit there and think about it for a second and then never think about it again, or you can act on it and then you can go do that and then see where that flow takes you, right? So it's not, like I said, just sitting there and you're sitting there doing nothing to accomplish something, of sitting there doing nothing. And then when that idea comes to you to how to better your life, it's that old parable of, I don't know if you heard this, maybe you might even have told it to me, I don't know, but where there's a flood, and everybody's telling this preacher to evacuate, and he's like, no, God will come and save me, it'll be fine, I don't have to worry. The floodwaters keep raising, and before you know it, one of the neighbors comes, and the flood's about 4 feet high or whatever, and he comes with a boat and says, come on, jump in, you're gonna lose all your stuff, we got to go. And he says, no, God will save me, whatever, you guys go do what you got to do. And then, a few hours later, the water's higher and another boat comes and say, hey, we got to go. You're going to die, whatever. And he says, no, God will save me, whatever. And anyway, the guy ends up drowning. He goes to heaven. And he said, why didn't you save me? I kept saying that you would save me. And he said, I sent you 3 boats. So it's kind of one of those things where we can't just sit there and say God's going to save me and not pay attention to when he's saving us. We have to see the signs and act on those, and not just sit there and think that he's going to come down with this hand from the sky and pull us out of our
Yeah,
situation.
no,
There's going to
exactly.
be signs and signals that we got to follow and do our part too. So
And then for everyone, that's what is the life about, when you have to learn that. Because for me, it's usually internal feeling where I just am not happy, and somebody is picking up different messages and so on, right? I mean, I'm also now too, but before I wasn't paying attention to angel numbers. Now it's all the time, right? And what I figured, that's something interesting that I can talk about later, but um, it's exactly that 2 years that I said, before this pandemic, I was already not good in happy there, and I still persisted, so that's the result. What do you want? But you remember when I told you that, I had this 4 months rough, and then I did this mushroom trip, and I just like realized this simple message after this. Really, it wasn't the most, beautiful trip. You did it to yourself. And now I'm just remembering it so much that a lot of things come back to me, and I'm just not, um, beating myself down on that. But I don't need any mushroom trips anymore. But oh yeah, you're doing it to yourself. So it's like, wow,
and
this,
that,
whatever is happening, whether it's ascension or it's like my open mind more, or something is really different.
well, and that's what's hard for a lot of people is, a lot of people hear you're the problem. You need to fix this. You need to do that. And they say, no, I'm not fixing myself. I'm perfect. Everybody told me I'm perfect my
Oh
whole life.
yeah.
And so it's really hard for them to get that message. And that's why a lot of people have bad trips. That's why a lot of people have bad experiences with different things, because they're not ready to accept the things that they're being
Yeah.
told about themselves. And it makes it very difficult to process, and it can create a lot of disillusion and conflict within yourself if
Goodness.
you don't
Yeah.
accept that those things, what they are and who you are and what you are. And a lot of introspection is what this whole process is going in and looking at yourself and stripping yourself down to who you are, what you believe, why you're here. And when you can answer those questions, it gives you much better clarity about where you're going. And regardless of the outcomes or the expectations or anything else, if you know what you're doing, why you're here, and what you're here to do, it makes everything so much clearer and easier. And all the other things really don't matter, because
It's
that's one thing that really opened my eyes with this whole, recent revelation or whatever, is we're all dying. Nobody makes it out of here alive, right? So
do
we don't get
something
to take
big
we
too.
don't get to take our houses with us. We don't get to take our
No.
money with us, but we do get to take that soul evolution with us. So what are we going to do with it? Are we going to evolve, or are we going to worry about the personal gain and the monetary things and all the stuff that we can't take with us? Or are we going to do our best to evolve as best we can in the time that we have to do what we do here?
Well, and that's what we are choosing. We're choosing better. And we're also trying to overcome the fear, because I think a lot of times it's the fear that we don't want to look at ourselves.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, we're all going to die, and that's the most fearful thing there is. So once you get over that, everything else is cake.
Hopefully it's a chocolate one too.
Yeah, I agree. But it was awesome talking to you as usual. I gotta run for the day, but we'll definitely have to do this again. I have another channeling session on Monday, so next week sometime maybe it'd be another good time to, maybe towards the end of
Yeah,
the week
I'll
again.
be waiting for you to tell me, and so we can
Yeah, I'll try to give you more heads up.
no, it's okay. It's what happened was that I thought that you're gonna tell me what about, so I have like a fair idea, so I know the questions that I
Oh,
can ask
I
you.
like
But
to keep you on your toes. Makes it more
okay.
natural, you know what I mean? Oh,
No.
no,
I
that's
and
okay.
that's why I wasn't really up to like, hey, what's happening?
Oh,
And I expected it, and it came. So yeah, I know you by now.
awesome. Well, thanks so much, and
Take
everybody out there
care. Bye
watching.
bye.
Pretty sure. Yep, you too. See ya.